Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing something very different, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my makeup palette collection, specifically for eyeshadows. I do have other palettes that are meant for your face or for highlight, base, concealer, all of those lips, things like that, but today I just want to kind of share with you guys my eyeshadow collection. I don't have a huge palette collection. I do have some other individual eyeshadow options, but I did just kind of want to share them with you guys. And so yeah, let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so first of all, I am sorry for the cat hair that is on the bed, animal shed, and no matter how many times I clean a blanket, it's still everywhere. So I wasn't really sure how to film this video. So I'm going to start with my drugstore items, and I guess I'll work my way up. The first two here are my Physicians Formula palettes. I did do a video solely focusing on Physicians Formula, and that's where these two palettes came from. This one is more mattes and shimmers, and this one is all glitter shades. So that's kind of why I have two palettes. Obviously, as you can tell, I don't really use these that often because this one's a little bit hard to use. And this one with the glitter is just, it's hard to use often because it is straight glitter. You can't use it too often, but I did really like this palette. The glitter was really great. So this is another one of my smaller palettes. It is from Wet n Wild. Again, surprise, surprise, I got this palette for when I did a full face using one product. And this was the palette I chose to use because I loved the fall colors. I did the video right around fall time, and I just loved the greens in here, the warm tones, and I really do like this palette. It is very small, and I don't use it that often, but as I'm sitting here talking about it, I don't really know why. I don't, because it is such a great palette. It is very pigmented. Again, I'll just show you. You can see the pigment that came off of that, and they're so creamy, especially for a drugstore eyeshadow. So these ones I'm all going to lump together because I got them, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through them all super individually, but these were 4 eyeshadow palettes. This one that is more for your smoky nighttime eye. We have the 4th one, which is more of your pinks and kind of neutral tones. We've got this one over here, which is more of your warm neutral tones. And then we have this shade set right here, which has a little bit more of a summery shade, a little more of a mix. I got all 4 of these in one set. Sorry, I'm like shaking the camera all over the place, I know. I got all of these in one set, so that's the other reason why I'm putting them all together. I think I got these during one of my TJ Maxx hauls, or Marshall's hauls, and I love e.l.f. I love their products. I love how affordable they are. Just to swatch this one. I know I need to get my nails done, don't mind that. So you can see these are also really pigmented, and they're very pretty. I use, obviously, the neutrals more than anything else because I don't really have a life, so I don't go out very often warranting the others. But these two palettes, the neutral ones, I use those all the time. I love those palettes. They're great and affordable. The next palette I'm going to show you guys is the 24 Karat Nudes by Maybelline palette. This one I got because I heard so many, if I can get it open, goodness gracious. I heard so many great things about this palette. And I was actually a little disappointed by it. You can see that I've used some of the neutral colors here, some of the shimmer shades, but I haven't dived into it too much, as you can see. Another one that I don't really use that often is this L'Oreal Palette Noir. I wanted to do kind of a blue cool tone smoky eye, so I saw this in the drugstore at Walmart, and I thought it was great. But looking into it, I do love some of these blue shades, but one I just don't use blue very often, as if you watched my blue Valentine's Day tutorial, you know, but I didn't love it. I wasn't super impressed by it. I like some of these darker shades for when I am doing a smoky eye, but these blue tones I don't use very often. This is a palette I recently bought, and it was also part of LA Colors Makeup Winter Collection. Is the I Heart Makeup, and it is another one part of their I Heart Makeup collections. The packaging is like a lot of them. They're very kind of honestly cheap and plastic. But when you open it up, one, it has a big mirror here, but 2, I love the colors in it. I did play with this, and I really actually liked it. Obviously, it doesn't look like I used it that much, but that's because it is fairly new. I did do a video on most of these eyeshadows as well. This one, if you want to see, I will link the video down below for you guys. But I like it a lot. It does have some of your playful colors here, but it's mostly you've got your warm, your neutrals, and then you've got your dark for some smoky eye looks if that's what you like, and then you've got some neutral transition shades and basic shades here. And next up I have my W7 Mighty Mattes Neutrals palette here. This is another one I got at Marshall's TJ Maxx. It's got a tin packaging setup thing going on here, and it is very neutral. Played with this some, as you can see, not as much as some of the others we will see later, but some of these shades are really pretty. They're very soft, like this pink I really like. It's just this really soft pink color. And I'm looking at it and I don't really remember why I don't play with it as much, so I think I'm going to have to. This video is going to make me want to play with so many different makeup palettes. Oh my goodness. Here is another drugstore palette for you guys. This is the CoverGirl Jules palette. This is one I also heard some decent things about, but when I tried it out, and I love that blue, I love the purple, I love that gold. I saw this and I was like, oh my god, I love these bold, bright colors. But when I tried them out, I was actually a little disappointed by how they worked for me. Again, no offense to anybody who loves these type palettes, they just didn't work for me. I mean, when you swatch them, it looks beautiful, but they just didn't blend as well for me. Moving on, I have my Sleek Under a Spell eyeshadow palette here. Sleek Beauty was a new line that Ulta launched a few months ago, last year sometime. So it's a good thing that these things are so hard to open, but my goodness. I like that it has the giant mirror here, but the colors, I do like the palette, so I use some of them. As you can see, I use this kind of pretty corally pink color here, and I've used this one quite a bit, but it's another palette where there's just not a whole lot of looks you can do with it by itself. They're kind of dark. There's not any kind of sort of transition shades here. The colors are beautiful. They are very buttery. They feel really nice, even though shimmery shades do, so they are very pigmented. There's just not a lot you can do with the palette all by its little lonesome. And my second to last palette from the drugstore is this LA Girl Nudes palette. This one I haven't played with as much as the other LA Girl one. That one kind of just consumed my life. But I love this palette because look at those really pretty pink shades. I love it in the summertime, not as much in the fall, even though there are some really pretty neutral shades in here. But I just love those pinks. There's some shimmers, there's some mattes. And again, LA Girls is just such an affordable brand that I just love it. And the last like true drugstore palette that I have here is this Milani palette. Obviously I don't keep the brush, that should be there, but I really like this palette. It's just a very small, simple palette, but I really like Milani's makeup in general anyway, and I like that this one has some of the matte shades here, and it had some shimmer shades. This gold is just super pretty and super pigmented, and so there's not a whole lot to say about this palette. Clearly, I like gold pinks and mauves and golds, but we already knew that. Moving on, I have this Makeup Revolution Fortune Favors the Brave palette. I just love this gold packaging here and the little design here. And then when you open it up, you have another giant mirror here, and then you have the palette. And when I first saw this palette online at Ulta, I just thought how beautiful it was. I loved these kind of marble shades here. I thought it was so different, and there's so many different things you could do it. The quality of the shades in the palette, you know, is not going to be as much as you would expect from a high end. Some of the darker shades do lose their color when you blend them out. And they're just not quite as creamy or buttery, but they're still just super pretty. And again, I just loved how different it was with those marble shimmer shades. So another palette that I will show you guys that I have is the Carity Just Peachy palette. Carity is not a brand that too many people have heard of, but it's kind of advertised as a high-end makeup quality for a drugstore price. Again, a nice large mirror here. I love the packaging with the peaches on it. They have come out with a lot of different things. This is the only thing I have from them though. And it's a decent sized palette. I think it's like $25, $29, something like that for 15 shades. And I just love the warm tones, the pinks, the oranges. This is one I actually do use pretty often. They are really pigmented. I don't know if it's worth all of the hype, to be honest, but they are very pigmented. They are really pretty shades. You can create a lot of different bright looks. It's great for the fall with these darker shades down here, but you also have the bright shades for spring and summer. I was going to try to do my Morphe collection all in one go, but their palettes are so big it's hard to show you. So this is my original, very first Morphe palette. It is the 35F Fall into Frost palette. I wish they had mirrors in this one, but they don't. That's all right. And this one has obviously very fall tone shades. If you guys know Morphe, you know you just get so much product and there's such a good quality for the price. You've got all of your mattes down here, and then the rest of it is pretty shimmery, glittery, glitzy shades. Obviously, I have dipped into some of these quite a bit, so I do love this palette, especially for the winter and the fall. I honestly don't use it quite as much in the summer because the tones are meant to be very fall. Next palette, as you can see, is one that is well known at this point in the beauty community, and that is the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. Obviously, you can see I use this one quite a bit. There's quite a little dirty. I'm not one of those that just has to keep everything clean. I know a lot of people are, but I'm honestly not, especially with eyeshadows where there can be such fallout, even though there's not as bad in this one. I'm not going to go over this one too much because you guys know this palette. Everybody knows this palette, but I obviously use this one quite a bit as well. The last Morphe palette that I have is this Dare to Create. This is my by far biggest palette that I have owned. I mean, it is giant, and it's starting to finally get more hype. It's now in Ulta, which I like, although when I bought this it was only at Morphe. A little bit more expensive than their other ones, but again, so much more product. You have the big center shades right here that are going to be your more neutral, more oftenly used shades, but then you have your warm tone, you have your cool tone, you have your bright colors right here. I mean, how stunning are those two colors right there? And then you have your greens, you have your browns, and you have your blues. So this is definitely one of my everyday go-to palettes, just simply because I can use this every single day and do a completely different look. Next palette that I have to show you guys is the Cargo Wunderlist palette. I know a lot of people like this palette. It's worked for them, but if you guys didn't see my video, I did do a review on this. I did get this actually from Marshall's as well, and I love the packaging. I just think the packaging is so pretty, and it caught my eye, and I had to try it, and I really like their highlighter. But when I tried this in person, I was not very impressed. Again, I like the mirror, and I love the shades. I love those greens. I love those mattes. Like, I wanted them to work so bad for me, but as you can see, I only played with this a couple times. I did play with it still a little bit after that video just to see if I could make it work, but there's so much kickback here, as you can tell. And this is just not from having used this very much at all. But this purple is so pretty, and this green, I wanted them to work, but I was not impressed. They were hard to blend and they were patchy. I just haven't really donated this. So again, if you guys love this palette, and if you love Cargo, don't hate me. It just didn't work for me, that's all. For the sake of time, I'm going to lump these two together as well, because again, I got both of these at TJ Maxx or Marshall's. I don't know. I tied them both together, so I'm sorry I keep saying that, but I've gotten a lot of makeup from there. The first one is the Too Faced Cat Eyes makeup palette. This is one of their smaller palettes. I do like this for traveling because it is so small and easy to use, but it's just very limited with the shades. You have a couple pinks, one little blue here. These are all matte, and then these are mostly shimmers. And I do like the names. All the names are based off of like cats. I know I'm a little blurry here, I'm sorry, but this one's Purr, you know, Meow, this one's Kitten, and you've got Panther over here, Tiger's Eye. So I liked the theme of it here. It's not really my go-to, but I do like having it, again, to travel. And we have the Too Faced Love palette. And this one, again, not super duper impressed with the quality, but I do use it on occasion. So it's really just pretty neutral shades. You've got some more warm tone themes here. You've got your kind of pinks and purple, and then you have more warm tone with the green on this side. I was so drawn to this green. I thought it was so pretty. And again, it's one of those where it's more pigmented on your hand when you swatch it than it is in person. But this gold is also a really pretty shade. So I do use this palette. Sorry, I'm wearing my sweats, I know. I do really like this palette. I think it's very pretty. It's not one I use very often. It's not one of my go-tos, but I do keep it because I think it is very pretty. They do blend very easily. They are very soft to blend out and to use, and they're very pigmented. But then we have the Loreal Unzipped palette. This is the Ocean Sunset. They had several others, but this is the one I got. They had like 3 or others or so. And I love this palette. This was my first introduction to Loreal, actually, was using this palette, and it hooked me probably for life. Unless something drastic changes. I love them. I love these shades. They are so pretty. The only thing I don't like is it tends to, because of the magnets with this part, it tends to flop over, so I have to like keep it propped open. But I'm going to try to swatch some of these for you guys. So there's that green. They're not the best swatches, I know. I'm trying to balance, and clearly it's not working. And here is that yellow shade. These shades are so pigmented, and they are so blendable. I love them so much. I love this palette. I use it more in the spring and the summer just based off of the color options that we have, but it is such a beautiful palette and absolutely one of my favorites. Here we have my 2 Marc Jacob palettes from his Style Icon collection, and I have 208 the Vamp and I have 208 the Tease. These palettes are so pretty. I use them quite often. I use the Tease, this one, a little less often just because of the colors that are in it are a little bit more towards the smoky toned, but they're so pigmented and so pretty. I love his palettes. I love his Style Icon palettes, which is why I have the second one here. And this one I use more often based on the color options available. They're just so stunning, like this purple. I mean, that was not a very good swatch. And again, my camera does not want to get into focus here, but they're just so pretty, and they're so blendable and so usable. So, and they're small, so I like to travel with these as well. They're very compact. Moving on, I have the Anasazi Modern Renaissance palette. This is another one that most people at this point have heard of. I know there's been some scandals with some of her others, mostly that Subculture palette. And I'm really interested in her new Soft Glow one, but I love this palette. I know, to me, this is probably, I have only one, but based on the reviews, this is probably her best one, so I'm so glad I have it. I just love this palette. I obviously use it quite a bit. You can see how dirty it is, and how much I have dug into it. And it's just such a pretty palette. Again, so versatile. You've got things that you can do in the fall and in the summer with it. You can make some really romantic Valentine's Day looks with it, or you can make some really neutral ones. And these colors, they are so darn pigmented, and they are so soft, and they are so blendable and creamy. Ugh, it's just like butter all over your eyelid. So I love this palette. Again, this was actually my first, I'm not only Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, but my first really high-end ish luxury item palette that was basically not a drugstore palette. So 2 Smashbox palettes here to show you guys. This one is part of their cover shot collection. As you can see, they had mattes, they had the smokies. I got the matte one just because I wanted something very easy to travel with that I could use for everyday looks everywhere I go. And I do like how you get more of the cool tone pink shades and you get more of the warm tone here. Again, this is one that will flop over if you don't support it, so I'm not going to swatch these, but I do love this palette, and it is definitely my go-to to take with me when I am traveling. Then I have the Full Exposure, and this is another one that is great for every day. As you can see, it is so dirty because I use it quite a bit, and you got the little bit of holographic packaging to it. This one, again, you get a nice mirror to it here, but it's all about your neutral shades. It's got some of your cool tones, it's got your warm tones, but it's all about your everyday go-to natural look. And so I use this regularly for when I just want a nice, simple, neutral look. If I want mattes or shimmers, it's got everything in it. So I do love this palette. I actually do use this brush, even though it's not in here. I have it with my brush collection because it's just easier for me to grab there. But I do like Smashbox brushes quite a bit, actually. We are nearing the end, you guys. I'm a little bit excited for the length of the video, and I realize I have more of these than I thought I did. But, you know, again, others have more, so I don't feel that bad. This is from Storybook Cosmetics, as you can see by the big S, and it is the Charlie and then Chocolate Factory collection. And Storybook Cosmetics has mostly eyeshadow palettes and brushes. They have a couple lipsticks that they have, and they're a little bit, if I can get this open, they are a little bit expensive for eyeshadows, and to be honest, they are kind of gimmicky in the sense that you have to buy them for a gift. This isn't something you would necessarily buy for any old reason every day, especially this one where you've got the Oompa Loompa shade. and the My TV shade, where they're very just kind of bright shades they wouldn't necessarily use on a daily basis, but Storybook Cosmetics does a great job with their eyeshadows. They are so pigmented and they are very buttery, and they last for quite a long time even if you don't have primer on. And again, I like how they have the mirror, and their packaging is adorable. They always come with these cute little bookmarks. They take care with everything they do. They take care with their names that they choose. They take care with every bit of their packaging. I mean, even this part has the lines on it like it's book pages. So I love their packaging. I love their brand, honestly. Even if they are a little bit expensive and I don't have their other eyeshadow palettes, they do have a few others. Next to show you guys is this Tarte palette. This was part of their recent holiday collection, if you couldn't tell by the design of it. The packaging on this is so stinking pretty. I love it. It's what actually drew me to it in the first place. They had two different options. This was the Sephora option. They had another one from Ulta, but I really liked what came in this one, and this is very magnetic as well. I get all the face options here, which I do love their Amazonian clay stuff. The whole line of it I love. But you do have the cool tones, you have your warm tones, you have your matte, you have your shimmer shades. I use this one quite a bit as well. Whether I want a smoky eye or every day, I use this often. It also just smells so strongly of chocolate, which I know might turn some people off, but I absolutely love it. I mean, I just open the book and I just get this huge whiff of it, and I can still smell it. It just sitting here. You also do get some eye essentials. Again, I have their eye stuff. Excuse me, you get an eyeliner, mascara, and liquid lip, but those are with my other collection items stowed away. Next, I have my Moschino. This is not a toy palette, and this one I'm not going to be able to open with one hand. So this was another fairly expensive palette, but I mean, how adorable is that stinking package? I mean, seriously, just come on. So then you open it up, and of course you have the giant mirror here, and then all of these shades, and I love this palette so much as well, especially this shade right here. This is called Pennies from Heaven, and that is probably my absolute favorite shade out of the whole bunch. But you just get so much with it, and the only thing I wish was more, that they had more of, was they have Adore right here. Then they have Barely Bare right here, and those are really the only two like transition-y shades around in this little collection. But it is so pretty, and I love it, and I just love the packaging. It sits on my desk. If you guys have seen other videos, you've probably seen it sitting up there. Next is my Do Save Free Matic eyeshadow palette. It's obviously very reflective packaging. It's very sleek packaging. It's kind of have this rounded top here. And this one I got as part of my FabFitFun box, and I did do a review on this palette as well. I'll link that video down below if you want to see it. I've done reviews on most of these, so really you could just go through my entire video selection. You can see them. So it does have, again, a mirror, and then you have the eyeshadows here, and you have a highlighter as well. They are magnetic, hence the Free Matic. So you can just pop them in and out. And then you had two different selections in FabFitFun, and I got the more smoky one. And you do have some mattes down here, and then you have some more shimmer shades up here. I love this palette quite a bit. However, I don't use it very often. One, because it's new, and two, because, again, I don't do a smoky eye too often. I don't have a life to warrant me having a smoky eye other than to wearing it for myself, which I do on occasion. As we near the end, I'm going to show you my IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette. This reminds me a lot of the Modern Renaissance palette, just size comparison to give you an idea. It's slightly bigger, but just the colors and the shape of it. But this one has the magnetic opening here. Again, a nice mirror. And then you have the shades here. This is another one I've used quite a bit. Haven't had it too long. Sorry, I'm trying to get you in focus here. So I love these warm tones. Like this shade right here is Sunset, and it's such a pretty color. Although, again, can't really see too much on my hand. The sun just went behind a cloud and my lighting was affected. Then you have Sunrise. These are two that I use really often, and when I did review on it, I really liked. And then you've got Midnight here, which is really pretty dark blue as well. So it's very pigmented. They're not super buttery or creamy, but that's okay. There is some fallout with these, especially with these two matte shades right here. But overall, I love this palette, and it's great for everyday use. And then you have your darker shades to deepen a look or even create a smoky eye, if that is your thing. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm sorry. Moving on, we have my Naked Urban Decay Smoky palette. This is actually the only Urban Decay Naked palette that I own. Actually, I think this is the only Urban Decay palette that I own. And which is funny because, as I've said, I don't do smoky eyes too often. But one, it was on sale, and two, I just liked some of the shades in them. It kind of reminded me of my L'Oreal palette with these blue shades in them, but the quality is so much better, and the pigmentation is so much better, and the blendability is so much better. Okay, I only have 4 more to show you guys, so hang in there with me. The only other Tarte palette that I have is the Make Believe palette, and again, I won't go into too much detail with this one because you guys, it's been around for quite a while, and you can't even really buy it anymore, I don't think. And I just love the packaging on it. It's very sleek and pretty and girly. And then you open it up, and of course you've got the mirror, and then you've got the shades in here. My white is missing. It broke. The only thing I don't like about this palette is that they only have the one matte shade in here. The rest of them are all shimmers, so this is just another palette that you can't use all by your lonesome. My penultimate palette to show you guys, and yes, I did use a big ol' SAT word there. I'm skilled, I know, is this eyeshadow palette by Estee Lauder. This is the Bronzed Goddess palette, and I will open it up for you, and this is what it looks like inside. It is definitely still a smaller palette, so during the summer I take this one traveling with me as well because they do have some really bright shades. I love this blue. It's so soft and pretty as well. You do have to build it up a little bit, otherwise it can be a little bit patchy, but that's not totally abnormal for blues and purples. But you do have kind of your darker shades, you have your mattes, and you have your shimmers. So if I'm traveling this summer, I will usually take this one along with one of my others to create some really pretty looks. The last palette I had to show you guys is my absolute newest, and I just reviewed this, and probably most favored palette because it was a gift, and it's also the by far most expensive palette that I own, and that is this Dior palette here. This is part of their Holiday Couture collection, so it has, of course, this fancy zipper and this fancy leather packaging to it. And then you have the shades here. You have 3 lip products, and these are the eyeshadows. So again, more neutral shades. This gold, though, oh my god, every time I open this up, that gold just screams my name. And but they're so pretty, and oh my gosh, I just loved this palette. It was like putting love all over your eyelids. They had the more matte shades. Some of these two are a little bit more matte, and then you've got these more shimmery. They're not like super glittery, just have a slight shimmer to them, and I just absolutely love them. I mean, this truly is butter on your eyelids. I know I said that about another palette, but this is it to perfection. This is my collection after the reviews just piled up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section if you did enjoy it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe before you go. Thank you guys again for watching. Until I can get any more videos out for you guys, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.